Welcome to the Biz Gone Social podcast. We help entrepreneurs navigate how to get known, get customers, and get the edge over their competition. Here is your host, Lorraine Duncan.
So here we are on the Biz Gone Social podcast, and I am so glad to be here. And my promise to you, as always, is I want to give you a little bit of verbal caffeine that's going to energize your business. After all, don't you want to be the business that everyone's talking about? I know I do. And welcome, Stacey Bennett. Welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Yeah, I've been looking forward to this. Could you tell my audience just a little bit about your business and what you do?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I run a profit coaching company. I help business owners manage their money so that they can run healthy, profitable companies so that they can make a difference in the world.
Yeah. So interestingly enough, I read somewhere in your bio or whatever that you weren't always good with money. So can you tell us a little bit more about that? Because I'm sure it's part of your journey when it comes to what you're doing now.
Yeah, it absolutely is. I mean, it was kind of what got me started in this. I didn't grow up learning about money. And so I made a lot of kind of the classic financial mistakes in my teens and early 20s. And in about my mid 20s is when I started to understand that I'd sort of like let myself off the hook with the idea, well, I'm just not good with money. And like with that story, I hadn't really held myself to learning how to use it. And so I made the conscious choice that I was going to really invest some time and some energy into developing financial skills and good habits and learning how to make powerful, smart choices with my money. And that's exactly what I did. And what opened up from that was this really incredible, empowering awareness that really anybody can learn how to use money well. And it changed my life. It gave me so much confidence and so much, I guess, like autonomy, just a sense that I can make my own choices for myself and I can structure my finances in a way that support that. And so it really just launched and ignited this passion for learning how to use money, making good choices around money, and then teaching other people how to use money. So I got involved in bookkeeping and started working with business owners. And I learned that even business owners that are running successful businesses, making tons of money, were making a lot of the same poor financial choices I was making as a 23-year-old, And so I made it my mission when I launched my business to not only help business owners, kind of manage the nuts and bolts of their finances, but really learn strategies, systems, and habits that would empower them to build the businesses that they envisioned when they started out, businesses that are profitable, that are growing, that can provide great opportunities for people, that can provide for their clients and for themselves. And so that's, it was really not being good with money and then learning what it did for my life that gave me the passion to go out there and do it for other people.
Yeah. And you mentioned systems, and I have to be a systems person because I don't naturally create systems. So once I have a system in place, it's a keeper because I'm not recreating it. But could you give us maybe a 30-second overview of maybe one of your systems?
Yeah, I would say the primary system I use in my finances is, and this is business and personal, I separate my money based on its function because it is just too much to make a financial decision when you've got all of your money in one pot. And so what I do with my personal finances, for example, is I split out my kind of flex spending, my play money, from my fixed spending. So my bills, my mortgage, my electric payments, kind of all of those things. And I carry a debit card around that is only connected to my Flex account. And that allows me to build a budget that my system keeps my money segmented so that I'm never overspending on lattes and taking away from something that from my debt repayment or my savings goals or my bills.
Yeah, now we all know that we can't get enough of lattes, correct?
All right. I cannot, especially if there's oat milk involved. I can't.
Absolutely. But no, it's funny. It's such a good thing. I remember this. It's a quick little story, but one of our friends, their wife kind of overspent their budget. Yeah. And so she asked if she could borrow $20. And so what he did is he actually got, because she gets paid every 2 weeks, he got 14 envelopes and put $1 in each envelope. And guess what? Well, it's a terrible teaching habit among spouses. I don't recommend this, but she never overspent her budget again.
Yeah.
But it's so, it's funny. I think about this a lot. One of my third jobs was getting paid every 2 weeks. Yeah. And I remember how I always was broke by 3 days to payday. And no matter how I budgeted, no matter how I tried, because really nobody ever taught me about, money. So anyways, I just thought it's so good to have those separate cards, that putting the money where it's supposed to go. I love that. I love that. Yep. So, as business owners, and there's a lot of business owners on this call today, and I'm just wondering, what are some common mistakes that you see business owners making?
One of the biggest mistakes, I would say, comes from what we've been taught culturally as business owners about how to think about our money. And that is, we are really taught to prioritize expenses over our profits, right? We're taught that profits is something that happens at the end of the cycle after you factor in all of the expenses. You look at all the money that you brought in, you spend it on all the things that you need to spend it on, and what's left over is your profit. That mindset, I see, often leads business owners to think of profit as an after the fact thing, like we'll see what happens with it. And same with owner's pay. I see that it works the same way, where we see once we've taken care of the business, whatever's left over, that's what I can pay myself. And that mindset often puts business owners into running very bloated budgets where we're spending too much money on the wrong things. We're not teaching ourselves to be resourceful. We're not prioritizing profits or owner's pay. And we end up burning out or putting our business in a position where it can't sustain itself if our revenue goes down, for instance. And so the solution to that is to prioritize profit and prioritize owner's pay and taxes, by the way, as like an above the line expense. So rather than thinking of profit, owner's pay, and taxes as like what's left over when we're done running the business, take that off the top and take what's left over to run your business on. And that shift in mindset and prioritization is what gives business owners access to doing kind of the real work of evaluating expenses based on necessity. When you've only got, let's say, $1,000 left over after you factor out all of those other pieces, you've got to make harder choices around, do I really need this other coaching program? Is that app subscription really necessary? Rather than kind of signing all of these contracts and signing up for all of these expenses, and then we'll see what's left over to pay myself and the government and keep in my company later.
Yeah. And, I was just thinking about this as you were talking, as I remember when we were in the pandemic days, for instance. Mm-hmm. And I listened to this podcast of someone who said, plan for like, maybe there's going to be a money shortage. So start cutting your budget now. And I actually started looking at like all my spending, all of it. And I started deleting subscriptions. And I actually saved, like, I forget how much it was. I know it was over $1,000 in subscriptions. Yeah. And it was like things we didn't need. It was things that we never used. I mean, I'm talking about personal and business. I had like app that I must have tried on a trial and had to put and people forget about that, Mm-hmm. So remember, for all those that are out there, if you like started one of those 14-day trials with a credit card, just remember, after that 14-day trial, you're going to start getting charged. Pay attention to that. It's funny, a lot, there's so many people that are probably really, really, really good with a lot of things that they do. Okay. And, some of them, they're very just talented, but they're really, really not good with money. Where would you say that if they wanted to win, where would they start? Where would they start?
Yeah, that's such a great question. They would start by spending time with their money. A lot of times when we're not good at something, that is the thing that we will, avoid. We'll do all of the other things that we're good at, and we'll put that on the back burner, and maybe we'll never get to it. If you want to be better at managing money, and we all want to be better at managing money, even if you've got a rock star accountant or bookkeeper who keeps track of that stuff for you, if you're a business owner who doesn't feel confident managing your money, you're behind. Like, there are things that you will be able to do for your business if you understand what's happening for you financially that you just simply can't if you don't know what's going on. And so start by spending time with your money. Take a look at where it's going. Simply sitting down and spending 15 minutes looking over the transactions that have cleared your bank account in the last 30 days might tell you that you're overspending by $1,000 on subscriptions that you don't need, that you forgot about, right? Like, just beginning with dedicating some time to looking at what's happening will get you started. And that will, in my experience, once you get started, it'll also get you interested in what's happening. Because as soon as you start paying attention to it, you'll start to change it, right? We know this, and the theory of like what you pay attention to, we shape, with our energy. And it's true with our money. By simply paying attention to your money, you will begin to influence how it's moving, even if you're not making conscious changes right off the bat. So start there. Start by getting familiar with it, spending time with it, building habits around routinely checking in. And then from there, you'll notice the pieces that need to be addressed. Maybe you'll notice that your expenses are too high and you need to cut them. Maybe you'll notice that you have a whole bunch of uncollected invoices and you haven't been staying on top of collections from your customers. Maybe that's your weak point in your finances. Like the needs in your own financial system will begin to show themselves when you start paying attention.
Yeah, no, that's all good. Now there's a lot of people that are really good with money.
Yeah.
So what are maybe a few strategies for those people who are already good? What are some things that they should be looking ahead to?
Yeah. How do you systematize the growth that you want to get to? How do you start? So if you're good at money, and when I say you're good at money, what I'm thinking is you know how to run on a budget, you know how to keep track of what's happening. If you look at your P&L, you understand the information that is contained there, right? Like, you have a foundational level of what's happening in your finances and a sense of agency or control over what's going to go on. So then from there, I would say, look ahead at where you want to be and use your numbers to create a roadmap to get there. So for example, the system that I use in my business and the system that I coach my clients on is Profit First. And that system is a very deliberate, percentage-based financial management system. So I dedicate a certain percentage of my revenue to each of these different expense types, including the percentage that I pay myself, the percentage that I save for the future, the percentage that I run my company on, the percentage I save for taxes, etc. So if my goal in the next 12 months is, for instance, to have take-home owner's pay of $150,000, and I know that what I dedicate to my owner's pay is 50% of my revenue, then that gives me a clear number. I need to hit $300,000 in revenue to meet that goal. My numbers informed my roadmap. Now I can use that $300,000 target to say, how many clients can I deliver services for? And that tells me how much I need to charge, right? Or based on how much I want to charge, how many clients I need to target having, sales conversations with, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Your numbers can be a real, guide. It can be the real roadmap for where you want to get. So if you're good with money and you understand these things and you've developed these habits, start looking ahead at where you want to go. Maybe it's Maybe it's I want to hire a new employee and I know I'm going to need X amount to cover that new hire. Start looking ahead at, well, where do I need to cut other expenses, or what does my revenue need to be at to sustain that? Or maybe I want to start, giving a profit share to my employees, my existing employees. Again, any goal that you have, you can use the numbers to back yourself into exactly what steps you need to be taking today to make that happen in the time frame that you set for yourself.
That's awesome. I'm going to shift gears a little bit here, because me and
good.
you are both business owners. We're entrepreneurs, whatever you want to call us. But, what is the one thing that you love about being a business owner, owning your own business?
I love being able to follow my curiosities and my vision. With my business, I get to experiment. Do I want to try putting my program as an online course? Yeah, I do. Cool. I'm going to dedicate some time and some energy to doing that. Or, I really wanted to always, give this to the world. So I'm going to create something in my business that allows me to do that. Or, one of the things I started doing when I created my business that really has been such a buoy for my spirit and my emotions is I wanted to give back a percentage of my revenue to youth financial literacy. And so I created that dedication from the moment that I started my business. I give 2% of my revenue to a Two to the Future revenue give back. And it's just so cool to have the say in I have this vision for what I want to contribute, and I have this kind of infinite sandbox to play in to test out different ideas for how to do that.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love when different businesses give something back, and there's always, it just is so kind, and it's just, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for doing something like that.
Yeah.
So, we always talk about the glamour, of our businesses, and everybody thinks it's so cool that we own our own businesses. But what is probably one struggle as a business owner that you go through monthly, maybe?
Oh my gosh. Running a business has been the hardest thing that I've ever done. Without a question, it's so rewarding and I'm so dedicated to it. And some days I wake up stoked to get to work, but it challenges me in ways that I haven't experienced anywhere else. And one thing is I have this idea of what I want to do in my company. And then there's 7,000 different ways that I could go about doing it. And I have to decide what way I'm going to use, right? If you're an employee, likely your employer tells you what apps you're going to use, what protocols you're going to use, what operating procedures you're going to follow. They give you the step-by-step. Even if they don't micromanage you, they build the infrastructure that you're going to do your job inside of. I have to build all of that. So, as an example, I have tried, 4 different task managers, 3 different password managers, right? Just shopping for apps, shopping for technology, trying to build the tech stack that I'm going to use in my business. It feels like a never ending uphill battle. And you find one thing and that thing works really well in these features, but then these other features don't. And then something doesn't plug in with your website and something else does. And so it's this constant, I feel like I'm constantly shopping for solutions. Nothing is perfect. And I am having to trust my gut and just call it good enough and roll all the time. That's probably the biggest thing. One of the biggest things. Do you relate?
Yeah, I totally relate. In fact, I'm just getting rid. The task manager ones are really hard because the thing is I have somebody who works for me, and literally we use 2 different task managers. They serve because both of them don't have all of the features that I need. So I need to use both. And it's although both of them I like one over the other. And so it's hard. It's funny. It's so I'm using like when I first started my business, I'm using so many different apps now than when I
Sure.
started.
Yeah, same.
So, there's a lot of people on this call. There's probably 3 different types. There's some that are just starting out, and then there's some that are, really seasoned and they're doing really well in their business. And then there's these others that are they're thinking of starting. And maybe one more category, there's maybe some that are really struggling at their business. If there was one piece of overall advice that you can give them to encourage them in their business, what would that be?
Oh man, a piece that hits everybody. The piece of advice I would have is find the right partners. Wherever you are in your business, there are people that will be the support structure for where you are. If you're super successful, right, like a mastermind of other super successful business owners might be the place where you will go and challenge yourself and grow. I'm guessing, for many people who are already successful, like these are the types of things that they're tapping into, but like be somebody who surrounds yourself with folks who are excelling beyond where you are. So if you are just thinking about starting a business and you're not, like quite there ready to pull the trigger, surround yourself by entrepreneurs. That was what got me started. Was I had so many friends and people in my life that were running businesses, and it made it so much more desirable to be a part of that community, to have something of my own that I could contribute and share. Now, if you're somebody who's struggling, maybe the partners that you need to be surrounding yourself with are experts in the areas that you're struggling. If it's marketing, if it's finances, like find the partners and people that you can plug into your community that will be able to kind of funnel that education and information and motivation towards you wherever you are in your business. And I think that being skilled at networking and community building as you grow through the different levels, like that skill is more than anything going to be what makes you successful as an entrepreneur.
Wow, I'm really encouraged by this call, and I'd like to point out to my audience is, there was a lot of golden nuggets in this podcast today. And so if you can implement one thing, that would be awesome. I know for myself, I think I'm going to sit with my transactions and look where I'm spending my money today. So if someone resonated with you today, Stacey, why don't you tell them how you can get a hold of them? And if you have anything that you want to offer, that would be awesome.
Yeah, awesome. I'm actually really excited. This summer is our first summer doing free public office hours. So we really wanted to give back to business owners who maybe are in a place where they've got questions, but they want to talk about transactions. They want to learn how to use different softwares. They want to set up a business, but they're not at the stage where they can pay, $1,000 retainer to an accountant to be able to consult with them anytime they've got questions, right? They just need a simple check-in. And so we rolled out these public office hours. Folks can book 15 minutes on my calendar to pop in and ask me questions about, how their bookkeeping software works, how to set up their company, how to manage their cash flow, how to work profit first, kind of any of these areas around their financial management. So they can get some quick guidance. It's recorded calls. They can keep the recordings for after, for the future, so they can use it in the future. And then we'll be building Q&A, frequently asked questions, pages from these recordings as well. And so if that is something that you're interested in, if you want to just come check in, spend 15 minutes going over some problem solving something that you're dealing with in your business, then the link is going to be, I guess, in the comments or somewhere around. I'll have Lorraine, make sure that Lorraine has it so that she can pass on to everybody. But you can find me and all of these pieces of information, my blog and all of that at the slcgroup.co. That's my website. And then you can also follow me on all my social media accounts, which are on that website too.
That's awesome. And again, I want to just thank you for being a guest on my podcast. Until next week, everyone, I'll see you soon.
Thanks for listening to the Biz Gone Social podcast. Find us on Instagram at Biz Gone Social for extra tips. Check back weekly for new episodes. Until next time, stay social.